Hey everybody, welcome back to the Guitars Plus. We have another edition of Just the Tip with Trevor here. Today we have a real treat. We're going to be doing an appraisal on what seems to be a 1962 Fender Jazz Bass. This is an excellent example of pre-CBS era Fender gear. Very valuable. This one's not coming in for sale. Customer's just doing an appraisal, but to do a proper appraisal, we have to really dive into each of the components. So we're going to take this guy into the shop and show you guys how to confirm something is from an era and how to date one of these Fender Jazz Basses. So let's get in there. Lovely bass. Let's take some measurements here. Okay, so for you curious folks, the nut width on this guy is 38.4. Now the heel measures 63 mil. Okay, so this is a genuine tortoise pickguard. Not actually made of actual tortoiseshell, like you might see in Victorian period sort of stuff, where it's actual tortoiseshell that's laminated and inlaid into things. But this tortoiseshell pickguard has a bit of depth to it, so you can kind of see, like a figured piece of wood, a bit of depth when you rock back and forth. Like the dark spots are deeper than the red spots and the yellow spots, so on and so forth. The modern stuff is basically a screen print. It's kind of a shadow of what we're really looking at, so this is pretty cool. Big note though is that these things are a little fragile, so I gotta be very careful when I unscrew these mounting screws because we don't want to get any tear out, and pick guards, especially around these really pointy points of contact, can rip and tear. So nice part about this bass is that we can examine the electronics. If this pick guard proves to be a little too fragile to take off, I'd rather leave it on than risk damaging it. So now these are little pilot holes are kind of interesting. So we've got the big ashtray, which by every indication looks to be original. I'm gonna have to brush up and see what these pilot holes were for. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got 4 pilot holes and this guy over here. So curious. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the plate for the electronics. So
what are we looking at?
I'll have to clean these up a bit, but we're seeing that we have 250K pot here, 250K pot here. What's nice, you can see the oxidation that comes on these things, so it's kind of hard to tell and read, but actually this little capacitor is going to help us out because it protected the the pot code on the back, so I can actually read those guys pretty good. And that usually corresponds to a manufacturer's date stamp. We'll have a look at it a bit closer here, but so I'll take pictures of these. We'll kind of blow them up on the computer, have a quick look, but
that doesn't look like it's ever been mucked with, hey?
This looks as OG as possible. I mean, when the corrosion basically matches the footprint, that's a good sign that you've got original housing. Cloth wiring all checks out. 2 volumes, 1 tone, 1 capacitor. Really simple circuit. So let's check these pickups out. Wired in parallel. So when we rotate the volumes on, you'll get half the resistance, but they're spread out more in parallel, so they should work just fine. And then when I isolate this is the neck pickup here, that's fully on. 7.45 is the neck. And I got 7.94 in the bridge. So the bridge is north, or excuse me, the neck is north, and bridge is south. Cool. Okay. So that's the polarities. So when one's off, it'll be a bit noisy. When you put them both on, you get a hum canceling effect. They both seem to be working just great. So awesome. We will be taking the neck off to check for the date stamp, the pocket, and I'll also be taking the pickups out to check the base plate just to make sure these aren't some aftermarkets or if there's some sort of maker stamp under there. So we'll get the strings off here in a moment, carefully unwinding them and clamping them with a capo so I can take the neck bolts off, and then we'll see what's inside this neck pocket. This is what we're seeing here. Again, these were stamps back in the factories, but what we can see from here, you've got a 7, and then remnants of a DEC, December. I see a 6, and then a 2 here. The 2's really faded out, but I see that scribe up that upper horn there, and there's a little indication just down here for that foot. So I see a 2, 62. Now over here we see kind of an angle. It's probably a 4. So maybe something has scribed off there, production number, but as I see it, it's 7 December 62. Another way to determine age is to figure out what year they started doing veneers and slab boards. So we're going to take a look at the online rosters of neck heels from this era and see what that construction style corresponds to with this date. So we've got a little piece of what looks like emery cloth. It's basically just like sandpaper, I think. I'm not going to pick away at it. It's definitely like sunk into the finish and kind of stuck where it is. But you know, we've seen a few guitars with this kind of shattered paint on the inner neck pocket. And it can kind of seem like a refinish, but I've seen it enough times where it's actually looking more like just the base coat primer or some sort of sealer agent. So that's all looking good. Sometimes you see marks from past techs, old owners, things like that. It's always kind of neat to see what's inside these pockets. There's nothing on the inside of the body pocket. There is a small signature down here on the heel. So sometimes factory guys did their little signature. I'm not an expert on who's who, but certain factory workers had certain profiles and names that people really preferred. So we'll see if there's any info on maybe that that symbol. Could just be a mark to say that it's complete for the day. So you have to consider every little mark sometimes. So now, is that just did a tool fall in this at some point, or is that a stamp like an 11? It looks more like a tool mark, but we just have to consider it. Little things like this pilot hole up here, a bit of a mystery. We've got the 4 here. You can see they're a different diameter, and there's threading inside those holes, but this one seems to be a smaller diameter and doesn't go as deep. So it's not visible from the outside, and there's nothing indicating in the pocket, so bit of a mystery. Now, while I've got the neck off, I'm going to investigate into I'm going to see if this pickguard wants to come off, because again, any marks and stamps, we're looking at a pretty authentic base here, but if we can get more indications, the better. It's kind of part of the appraisal process, seeing what's under there. We'll also take a look at these pickups, look underneath, see if there's any marks, stamps, things like that. Make sure they're not some aftermarkets. So I'll see if I can get this pickguard off and these pickups, and then we'll go from there. Someone could have taken the original covers and then put them underneath something that has like a more modern stamp. So fortunately, we don't see something that says DiMarzio or Seymour Duncan or another manufacturer. It looks like an original base plate. You can also see the ground. Their ground wire is a nice little piece of spring steel that kind of sits right there and basically touches up against the brass base plate of the pickup here, and that's your master ground. No other indications inside the cavity of stamps, refinish, anything like that. Again, we're pretty confident this is original, but you just, that's what we're doing here. We're confirming that through every possible scenario. So okay, so I'm going to reattach this pickup. That's the easier of the two for sure. The screws on this pickguard are really oxidized, so I'm going to do my best to take them out very slowly and see if I can lift this up. I don't think I'm going to get this neck pickup out without the pickguard coming up. Also, of course, the thumb rest. Get this guy back in, see if we can lift that up. All right, so the first few came out pretty good. They're definitely oxidized, and the pickguard is creaking because it probably hasn't been relieved of those fasteners in a long time, but I don't think we're going to get this guy off because of this little guy here. So this is pretty chewed out from oxidation. I'm not willing to risk damaging the pickguard for the sake of one fastener. You know, we're gonna have to just make a call and say, you know what, we can't get under there for this guy. I'm gonna spend a little bit of time trying to maybe coax that pickup out, but it's very pressed up against here, especially on these shoulders. So last thing I want is for that to start lifting up too as well. So I don't think we're going to be able to get under here, unfortunately, but every indication otherwise, pocket, pots, neck, we're looking at a pretty original guy. So okay, so now that we've got this on, I'm going to attach the shoehorn here, put it back on. Going to increase the tension on these guys very slowly. Don't want to exert any more pressure on these than we have to. For those who are unaware, the old gears have backwards worming, so to increase tension you pull towards you. That wasn't installed backwards, that's just how they were. And then we'll take this guy out front, play a few riffs through it, see how it sounds, and yeah, wrap this guy up. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed watching us dig into this really cool early 60s Fender bass. It's a fun little archaeology project when these guys come in, and it's a really cool step into the past, and hope you guys enjoyed seeing what we uncovered here today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, come on down to Guitars Plus, check out some of our other vintage gear that we have here, and thanks for watching.